Today, many students go to college with numerous questions about their faith, yearning to know if the seed planted in them as a child is both true and practical. Using the miracle on the road to Emmaus as a model, young adult ministers conversed weekly for 3 months with college students about the most pressing questions they had about the Catholic faith. As they journeyed together virtually, something amazing happened. Doubts disappeared, fears faded, and Jesus revealed that He is still alive. Hearts Burning Within Us, the latest book from Patchwork Heart Ministry, is a result of that grace-infused conversation. It is the perfect back-to-school gift for recent high school graduates and current college students. Get your copy for them today at patchworkheart.org or by calling 424-704-3278. That's 424-704-3278. The St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation, in partnership with Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network, present a podcast for divorced and separated Catholics.
Hello, and welcome to a podcast from the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. My name is Anne DeSantis. This is our podcast that's specifically for divorced and separated Catholics, Catholics who have been affected by divorce. So I want to thank you for joining me on this evening. And this is a special series that we're doing on the work of the foundation. Many people ask us, what is it that the foundation does? What type of services do we offer? And where did we come from? So before I answer those questions, I would like to tell you that this is a 4-part series. So this is the last of the 4 parts. And the first part was on prayer. And that was on ways that you can grow in your faith, especially if you're a Catholic affected by divorce, and ways that you can continue to grow in loving God, serving God, and in the sacramental life. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, I just invite you to go and check it out. The second one that we did was on our priestly consultations, because part of the charism of the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation is that we offer pastoral accompaniment for families in crisis. And so if you listen to that podcast, which is part of this series, you'll learn exactly what happens when you call us and you ask us, well, I need some help. I'm going through something very challenging, whether it be a separation, difficulties within your marriage, or if you're already divorced or have questions about annulments. And so if you listen to that podcast, I will explain to you exactly what we do during those pastoral consultations, which are free. So anytime you need them, all you need to do is reach out to us. The third podcast that we did for this series was on our programs and events. And so that's always evolving. It's always changing. And we offer not only live events, which we're just getting back to that, because here I'm taping this at the end of 2021. We did a lot of virtual events during the pandemic, and we still do a lot of virtual events. But if you go on our website at nonnatus.org, we have a drop down there on our programs. So check it out, see what's going on. No matter where you live, we have something for you, because we always have virtual series as well. So that's what the third part of the podcast series was on. Now, this is the 4th part. And on this one, I'm going to talk about our podcasts and also our other videos that we do and what we've done in the past. And if you go to our YouTube channel, what you can expect to find there. And I'll even kind of list some of the ones that I think would be pertinent for you as a person affected by divorce. And I'm also going to take the time just to talk about ways to grow in faith a little bit more. I've discussed that on some of our other podcasts, and some references from the Catechism of the Catholic Church. So without further ado, the first thing I'd like to do to tell you about our podcast is that when we began back in 2015, The foundation started out where we mostly did online support groups. And we found that they were successful. We had groups of people that would come, and we would have topics every month because our online support groups were once a month. But what we found was that people were more interested in one-on-one sharing. Many people did not want to share their deepest concerns with people that they don't know, with all due respect, especially since it's an online setting. And so we found that doing these online interactive podcasts was actually a better way for us to operate. So what we do is every single first Tuesday of each month, we offer a podcast that is 1 hour, and it is for divorced and separated Catholics. Our YouTube channel is called Philly Nonnatus. And that podcast can be found, as I said, on YouTube. It is 1 hour from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern, the very first Tuesday of each month. And so definitely check that out and subscribe. Now, when you subscribe to our podcast and you click on the little bell on YouTube, you get a notification. So every time we have a new podcast that's coming out for divorced and separated, you'll get it right on your phone. It'll pop up or on your computer, and you can listen. And when I say it's an interactive podcast, what that means is that as you're listening to the podcast, I myself and also one of our Mercedarian friars, one of our priests, is also listening there too. And when you're there and you're listening to it, Father and I can answer any questions that you have directly on our YouTube channel there. So just check that out sometime, and join us on one of those first Tuesdays for the Tuesday Divorced and Separated podcast. So without further ado, I would like to tell you about some of the things that we've done in the past. And if you got your phone right now and you're listening to this and you want to go with me and take a look at the channel, I can even explain to you some of those things that we do in our podcast. So if you go to the Philly Nonnatus YouTube channel, and you click on the little icon for Philly Nonnatus, you can actually go to the top and it will say playlists. And so the playlists that we have listed on our YouTube channel, I'm going to just read through them and explain what's there. And also, since you're divorced or separated, which ones would be best for you. So from the very top, it says marriage enrichment videos, friar features, family crisis topics, event promotions, family pastoral help, virtual marriage enrichment series, the Work of SRNF, Cardinal Virtue series, Catholics Affected by Divorce podcasts, Annulment series, and then we have another one on getting back to Mass after COVID, virtual workshops, services provided by SRNF, the 10 Commandments, Families in Crisis podcasts, pro-life videos, Giving Tuesday, 12 Steps to a New Life with Rose Sweet. And then we also have commercials with SRNF, online presentations, podcasts with SRNF, and interviews. Now, that was a lot. I know that was a lot to share with you, but I'm going to share the ones that I think for you as a person who's affected by divorce would be the best ones. So looking at those playlists, and I'm going from the very beginning, I would say the number one that you would want to watch or listen to is our 12-part series that we did. That was probably in the middle of the playlist there. It's called 12 Steps to a New Life with Rose Sweet. And so what that is, they were 12 podcasts that I did with one of our former board members, Rose Sweet. She's a national Catholic speaker from California. She's been involved in ministry for years. And the two of us do a podcast where we answer those questions that people have who are affected by divorce. And each month there's a different topic. I know that we did one on loneliness. We did one on after the holidays. We did one on the children and how to handle the children. And so check it out. That's a beautiful series there. They're pretty much like 45 to 50-minute podcasts where you can pick a topic. You can go through and you can look and see what's offered. And I'll just read some of them that we have here are getting through grief, helping your children, understanding annulments, the holidays, avoiding disasters of dating. So, the list goes on. Check that out. That would be my number one suggestion for you. Another one that I would say would be good for you to listen to is our family crisis topics, which is up at the top, their videos, and also family pastoral help is another. And we have our Annulment series. I have to mention that because it's a 4-part series with myself, Father Matthew Phelan, who's a Mercedarian friar, and also Father Sean Bransfield, who is with the Archdiocese of Philadelphia and has done a lot of work working with families who have questions about annulments. So check out that series. As I said, that's 4 parts. That's a really good one, a very popular one as well. Another one that I think would be a good one for you would be the one that's labeled as podcasts with the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation. There's a variety of podcasts there, both dealing with divorce and then some that are family crisis topics. So definitely check that out. And you can also go to our website at nonnatus.org. We have a page there. I'm going to actually guide you through that too. So if you have your phone or your computer, you go to nonnatus.org. And when you get to the website, you click on those lines, especially if it's off of your phone, there's 3 little lines that are up at the top, and then you'll get a drop down of services. So if you click where it says our services, you will see under that podcasts and videos. Now I'm going to go there first because this topic is about what we do with podcasts and videos. So if you click on that, it will explain the different podcasts that we do. And I think the thing that I told you at the beginning was the main thing that we do is that YouTube channel, which is the Philly Nonnatus YouTube channel. But we also have a podcaster on SoundCloud too, and I've had a variety of guests there. So check out some of the ones that are on that page. I usually put on the website the latest podcast that we've done. So, and also I have a whole list there of ones that we were interviewed by other ministries, which are very interesting too. Some of those are the Anchored in Faith podcast, Pro-Life America Radio, Catholic Forum, Oramus Communications, Catholic Vitamins, and the list goes on. So check that out. Now there's also on the drop down, if you go back to the main page with the drop down, we have another one that lists under helpful resources. You have to click helpful resources. It says for the divorced and separated. And so when you go there, there's a whole page there of information, of videos. Now, Rose Sweet has a big presence on this page because, as I mentioned, she used to be one of our board members, and she and I did the 12-part series there. But she's got a wealth of information too on her own website, which is rosesweet.com. So check that out on our website and learn more. And she also has some of her books listed there on our website too. So that's the main places that you're going to find our podcasts. If you have SoundCloud, which is like a podcasting outlet on your phone, it's an app. You can also look up Philly Nonnatus and you can subscribe there too. Now, Philly Nonnatus is just one of those additional IDs, I guess, that we have with our podcasting, because St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation is a long name sometimes, and not everybody always remembers that. But so it's Philly, like the city Philly, which is where we're located, Nonnatus. So just, definitely research that and subscribe. So I do hope you will do that. Share that with some of your friends. We've had some amazing guests too on our podcast. Now, I want to go back to the YouTube channel just to tell you some good ones there that I think would be interesting for you to listen and watch. I also want to mention that we have a Families in Crisis podcast series on YouTube. Now, the topic isn't specifically about divorce or separation, but it has to do with families that have been shaken up, have gone through some adversities. And I would ask you to subscribe on that too, because that's the last Thursday of every month. And I've been hosting that along with the president of St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation, Nikki Kelly. And so if you go to the Philly Nonnatus YouTube channel, you will see some of those there for the families in crisis. Like, for instance, we did a whole series on the 10 Commandments. You might find that interesting because we did mention and talk about divorce and separation as well. That's on the playlist too, the 10 Commandments series. So check that out. Now, I don't know when you're listening to this podcast, because obviously we're taping this now in November, the beginning. Actually, it's All Saints Day here today, when I'm taping it, 2021. You can listen to this anytime next year when you want to find out about what we do. Because I said a lot of people ask us, what is it exactly? What services do you provide? So there's going to be even more. If you're listening to this in 2022, there'll be even more there on the YouTube channel, according to what we've done and what we continue to do. And I said that I was going to tell you some of the guests that we've had in the past that I think would be very helpful to you. One of them is a gentleman by the name of Marek Rudak. He is a Catholic author and speaker, and he is also a Catholic who's been divorced. He's been remarried and annulled and remarried as well. So there's a podcast on our YouTube channel with him. We have some other really good ones there. Another one with Margaret Rivera. And I'm just going through the videos now just to tell you which ones I think would be good for you. Margaret Rivera. And another one with Terry Modica of Good News Ministries, a very good one. And another one with William Hemsworth, who is a Catholic evangelist and apologist. And he's also been divorced and annulled and remarried again too. So there's a whole bunch there to take a look at. I have another video that I did, a couple that we did with Janelle Paragoy. Now, you don't need to take notes here, but if you're looking at the YouTube channel, you can notice these videos on the list there. Janelle Paragoy is the woman who is in charge, I will say, of the ministry in the Diocese of San Diego for divorced Catholics affected by divorce. So I did an interview with her. We talk about ways that you can find healing after divorce. So there are just some, but I would definitely say go over, you scale them out, and especially the ones that I told you that have to do with what you're dealing with right now, because obviously I think you're probably listening to this podcast because you or someone you know has been affected in some way. Now, there's another one more I want to mention is that we have a very good video on there, which was taped actually more than a year ago, probably a year and a half ago, for adult children of divorce. And I happen to be one, and I gave a retreat on a Saturday, and I give some tips for healing for adult children of divorce. And that's definitely one of those videos that you will find there on the site, and you will find it that it's labeled as Anne DeSantis gives retreat for the adult children of divorce. So I'm going to stop there in terms of talking about what's on the YouTube channel, but I want to spend a little bit of time talking also about how people have been helped by our podcasts, because to be honest with you, our podcasts are a very big part of our ministry, because now that we're not doing those online support meetings anymore, and instead that we are offering these podcasts, they are a real way that we can talk to people and at their leisure, okay, without having to make an appointment. They can listen and find out about who is the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation and how can they help me. And so I'm also going to explain for a little bit about who we are and how we got started. Now, some of you already know that because you've listened to some of our other podcasts, or you've talked to me before, or you've talked to one of our friars. So let me just explain a little bit about how we got started. So back in 2015, you may remember that Pope Francis came to the United States. He came to the United States for the World Meeting of Families, and that was going to be held in Philadelphia. Now, he also stopped in some other cities. I know he was at New York and he was in Washington, D.C., But for us here in the Philadelphia area, that was a very, very big deal that Pope Francis was going to come to our city. I myself and my husband and my two daughters went down to Center City, Philadelphia, and we did get to see the Pope from a distance for the Mass. It was beautiful. And during that Mass, since it was all about family, the Mercenarian friars were also in attendance. And this is before the foundation was started. And a couple of them came back and they said, you know what? I think we as friars, I think that the religious order should start and do something to help family life, because in a lot of ways it's falling apart, both outside the church and inside the church. And so they came together. And what I think I'll do is give you all a timeline so that you're up to speed with who we are and what we do. So in 2015, I guess it was maybe sometime around September, October, they came up with the idea. So they gathered together in prayer. That was the first thing that they did. And then little by little, when they came into 2016, is they started to hold board meetings. And those board meetings were pretty often. And this is before I was involved. Once a month or so, they got together, and it was an 8-person board where they had in-person board meeting, meaning that most of the people that were elected to the board were from the Philadelphia or the greater Philadelphia area. Now that board evolved quite a bit from 2016. There were some people that left, there were some people that were brought on. And lo and behold, they had a lot of transitions that first year or 2 years. In 2017, they started to speed up the process. They elected a board president. And with his suggestion, in 2017, in the spring, they hired the first director. And I want to thank her because she did a great job getting things off the ground. The very first thing that they decided to do was to make that outreach to the divorced and separated. So our first director set up a retreat in the Philadelphia area, and also worked with some friars who decided that in some of our other cities, namely Florida, down in St. Petersburg, Florida, they put together a couple retreats, which were headed up by some of our Mercenarian Third Order members. And the priests, the friars, and the brothers helped to pull off those beautiful events. And I actually got to attend at the end of 2017, one of those events in St. Petersburg. Now, in the fall of 2017, the first director came into work one day and decided that it wasn't for her, and she decided to leave her position. That is when I came in as the administrative assistant for the foundation. So I wasn't the director yet. And I helped one of our friars put on an event that was for Catholics affected by divorce in Philadelphia. And it was very good too. We had Rose Sweet come out and do a live talk, beautiful day, and we made some new friends. 2018 rolled around and I became the director. And the very first thing that I did when I came in was that we decided that we were going to try those online support meetings, which we did for 2 years, actually 2 years. We did the online support meetings. They were very successful. We did one that was for divorced and separated and one that was for families in crisis. Excuse me, it started out for adult children of divorce. Now that evolved. And as I said, because of that whole idea of the privacy issues and the fact of giving people open space to share without having to worry about disclosing information with people on the call that they did not know. And maybe there's a little fear factor there too. But based on our surveys, based on talking with many people, we decided to bring it to what we do now, which is the podcasting, the interactive podcasting. And that's what this one's all about. So like I said, the difference with that is that it is a recording on YouTube where you can listen, and I will give a presentation either with myself or with a guest. We've done a lot of work with guests. this particular series is just me talking about all the facets of what we do so that it's an informational video, podcast for you. And making them those interactive podcasts gave people the ability to listen, comment, but also to reach out to us privately. And then that translates into those pastoral accompaniment sessions, those free phone calls, those free Zoom meetings that you can schedule as a personal meeting with a Mercedarian friar to have some spiritual counseling. So that's what we've been doing. And we did that, the online support groups we did from 2018, and we ended them in 2020. Now, when we ended those, that's when the podcasting picked up. Actually, it was before 2020 that we started some of those podcasts, but the formal ones of the monthly Tuesday night and the last Thursday for Families in Crisis really took off in the early spring of 2020. And they've been going great. So we went from being able to reach maybe 5 or 6 people a month with our online support meetings, because it's hard to gather even a few people for an online support meeting, to now we're able to reach hundreds for each podcast, because not only are they on YouTube, but they're also on a couple other channels as well. They're on Patchwork Heart Ministry. They're our friends. In fact, they're publishing this podcast for us on their YouTube channel. I want to make a shout out to Bill Snyder, who's also a board member with the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation. And he puts this podcast on a lot of other podcasting outlets. So people can find this almost anywhere where you can find podcasts too. It isn't just found on our own YouTube channel. So that makes it really great. It's also being broadcasted on Fiat Ministry Network, which is on Facebook. It's a Facebook live event, even though it's not a live podcast. And so you can catch that just by going to your phone and going to Facebook and just like Fiat Ministry Network, and you'll get it. You'll see it. And they also broadcast it right on our own YouTube channel on the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation Facebook page, and on all of our pages there too. So I just ask you to check that out. Now, bringing you up to speed. So we've been doing our podcasting then, we'll say late 2019, but really formally the beginning of 2020, or early spring, up until now, which I am filming this one on All Saints Day of 2021. So we've been successfully doing these podcasts for more than a year and a half. And it really is an honor. So like I said, we're able to reach a lot more people. And you can send these podcasts too. All you need to do is click a link. Say you have a friend that you're saying, oh my goodness, this person just got divorced. And how can I help them? Connect them with us. Go and send them some of our podcasts. Just click, copy the link and share it on a text. Share it on an email. Give them a call and let them know that we're here for them. There's so much you can do online, and that's why we want to take advantage of the fact that we can access many more people when we do podcasts, where quite a few people can listen, share, and like it and share it with your friends. And so what is the future for us? I don't know exactly, because we're working on that right now. What is our strategic plan for the foundation and what we want to do in the coming months and even years ahead? But I know that these podcasts are still going very well. And please let your friends know about them. So let's talk about, before we move on to other topics, I would like to talk to you about, on these podcasts, what are some basic tips for you who are listening and thinking, I'm glad I know about these podcasts. I'm glad I know about what St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation does and how they can help me. But can you give me some tips for healing for what I've been through right now? Because I'm going through a very challenging time of my faith. Okay. So I'm just going to give you, we're going to say 5 tips for your own healing, especially for those who are affected by divorce, and separation. So the first tip that I want to give you on this podcast is to pray. I mean, it's got to be number one, right? Prayer is the number one thing that you can do in life in all adversities. How do you do that? Now, everybody's different in terms of how you pray. Sometimes when you go through the hardest times, praying is the most challenging thing that you can do, because maybe your mind is all over the place. Maybe you don't have that much support right now. And maybe prayer makes you feel depressed. Well, what I want to offer to you is bite-sized prayers are also good too. And so if it's too much for you to make it to the Adoration Chapel, though I do highly recommend that, and I think that could be a healing for you, but just reach out to God in your thoughts, in your day, at work. Reach out with those aspirations, telling him, asking him, Lord, help me. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, pray for me. Jesus, I trust in you. Offer that up to the Lord to guide you during this time, especially if you are sad, lonely, depressed, scared, all those things that happen when your life changes drastically and you have many feelings. So that's the first thing that you can do. Number two is, I would say, seek proper counsel or help. Okay. Now that could be, and some people might say, well, I need legal help too. And that we're not going to talk about that on this podcast, because we're about the spiritual and the pastoral side of crisis and adversity. Now, we have a lot of resources on our website. Okay. If you go to our helpful resources page, there's a place called Outside Resources. There's all kinds of things there. Now, there's no lawyers or anything like that, but all of the pastoral side of this, the help that you're seeking. So check that out, look it up, but seek the proper counsel. Okay. Do go to your pastor, do make an appointment with a priest, reach out to us at the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation, because we offer that free pastoral session with a Mercedarian friar. They're 1 hour appointments over the phone or over a video call, something like a Zoom, whatever is convenient for you. Most people tend to like the phone. I'm even going to give you my email address, because if you're listening now and thinking, I want that, I need to make that appointment, just reach out to me at director.srnf@gmail.com. I'll say it again, director.sr, N as in Nancy, F as in Frank, @gmail.com. Just type me a message and say, I'd like to make the free pastoral appointment. Now, a lot of people call us or email and they want to talk to me. And that's, I'm happy to talk to people. I want to make a statement, though, for not just for me, but for the foundation, is that we're not licensed counselors or therapists or psychologists. I'm a good listener, and everything that you explain or tell us about what's going on with you or have questions, I'll have that listening ear, and I will pray for you, and I will pass your prayer intentions on to some of our trusted Mercedarian friars. But I am not a counselor. I'm happy to say, though, that we do have licensed counselors on our website. If you go to the Outside Resources page, about halfway down, we have a couple counselors listed there. I'm going to talk about a couple that I know personally and that I think could help you with your situation. One is Heather Makowitz, and she is a Philadelphia-based counselor, social worker, licensed social worker that can counsel you. So definitely go to that Outside Resources page and check that out, Heather Makowitz. The other one is one of our board members, Colleen Bridget Fitzpatrick. She's located in South New Jersey, for those who are not inside the greater Philadelphia area. And she has a practice called Instrumental Change. And she also is a Catholic. And you could take a look at her services there and what she offers, Colleen Bridget Fitzpatrick. And actually on our team page, it's called Our Team, underneath the very first drop down that you look at on the page, you will see the home first and then about. If you click on about, the drop down for our team will come up. And then you'll see Colleen, Bridget, Fitzpatrick. And I believe she does online calls too. So you can find out more about her there. So 2 is seek that proper counsel. Now that could be therapy, right? It could be therapy, psychotherapy, or some kind of counseling. It could be talking to a religious or a priest. It also could be, depending on your situation, some other nonprofit that does a different work than we do. Because, when people are going through hard times, sometimes they're dealing with addictions or job loss or sickness, different things. So, on the helpful resources page, we address all those things. The third thing that I want to mention to you is to find, if you can, find some extra help at home. Okay. And I'm going to explain that, especially if you are really literally in the middle of some kind of a separation or something. Okay. Now, that might be impossible for you. Maybe you don't have support or family in the area or friends that can come and help. But what I'm trying to say in this regard is that what I've learned just from the work that I do is that a lot of support is needed. I mean, a lot. And some of that support has to do with the kids. Some of it has to do with the house. Some of it has to do with finances. So make sure you check out our outside resources there too, because you might just need to get a family member or friend, maybe just to help out by taking the kids out, for the evening some night, or helping you with the housework or yard work or things that maybe your spouse used to do. So now this isn't something that we provide on St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation. It is on our website too. We don't provide any type of financial services or anything like that. But I would suggest that if you are going through these tough times, that go to your own church community, your friends, your neighbors, people and offer it up and ask. Don't be shy, right? Some people are so shy to say, you know what, I need help right now. Things are just awful. And I don't have enough support at home for whatever that is. And I've learned that a lot, even with the work that I do with the people that call and want to, tell me things in confidence of what's going on. So that would be my third thing, is just finding that extra help for the things that I mentioned. The fourth thing I want to mention is, and I do think this is important, aside from the counseling, aside from finding help, is I would suggest talking to a priest. Okay, you're obviously, most people who listen to this podcast is Catholic, and even if you're not Catholic, if you are a person of faith, maybe this would apply to clergy, because obviously there's a spiritual and a pastoral side to what you're going through, right? The side that has to do with your faith, the sacrament of matrimony. Because if you're Catholic and you were married in the Catholic Church, then you may need to talk to someone who really understands marriage and the sacrament and what you need to do if you've been separated for a while and even civilly divorced. What are the next steps for you? A lot of times people ask us questions like, well, I'm divorced. I don't think I can go to communion, receive communion, because I'm divorced. That's not necessarily true, because the reasons that people can't receive the sacraments is that they're in a state of mortal sin. Okay. And that's maybe for another podcast, talking about all those realms of sin, right? But if you're not in a state of mortal sin, okay, if you're not in another relationship with someone else after that divorce, if you didn't remarry outside of the church, you can receive communion. There's no reason you can't. But if you need to take some steps having to do with an annulment, okay. First, again, I want to recommend that series that we did on our YouTube channel, the 4-part series on the annulments. It answers everything. So, I mean, even if you took an hour one night a week and listened to the whole series, you're going to get all those answers that you need about the annulments. But I would say you can also call your diocese or archdiocese, and there's an office there that handles all that you can talk to. But start with your parish priest. I mean, that's our recommendation, is talk to your pastor, your deacon, make an appointment and just ask away. And I think that's a really important thing for you to do in terms of healing, in terms of next steps, and in terms of really understanding the church aspect of it, right? That's so important. Now, I want to mention that these tips that I'm giving you now, they're based on more the church perspective, right? I mean, I could give you 5 tips for healing that have nothing to do with Catholic Church, but this is a Catholic podcast, I will admit, right? It's the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation. So these tips are for you, those who are seeking help regarding your faith, okay? Now, the last tip, though, that I'm going to give you could really be for anybody. And I think it's a good one because I've heard this one over and over again from people who call us, from people who have talked to us on podcasts or different events that we've done. And that is, I'm going to leave it as acceptance for what is. Okay. And what does that mean? Well, I don't think anybody gets married with the idea that they want to get divorced or separated. Do you? I don't think so. I think most people that get married, most of the time, okay, unless there's some strange reason, at least have some desire to be married. Now, when you get an annulment, and that annulment is basically declaring the marriage that there was something that was not right from the beginning. Okay. What that is, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that on this podcast, what it is that they found that wasn't right. But for whatever reason, they're saying that it didn't have what was needed for a successful sacramental Catholic marriage. Okay. We're not talking about civil marriage. We're talking about Catholic marriage, the sacrament of holy matrimony. So they're finding that something wasn't quite right. Okay. So acceptance for what is. I talk to, and I've communicated with some people who can't get over what happened. It's so hard. Maybe they still love their ex-husband or their ex-wife. Maybe there was some infidelity. Maybe there was addiction. Maybe there was abuse. Maybe there was other issues, a lot of financial or some kind of other problem going on there that just made it very challenging to continue. And like I said, I won't get into a lot of detail here, but just to say that that acceptance really is for you to say that despite the reality of sin, despite prayers that haven't been answered that maybe you still feel very disappointed about, despite the fact that you still have problems, maybe even some problems that have to do with an ex or the ex's family or neighbors or your old friends that you two used to have together. Acceptance for what is means that you believe that despite all that God loves you and God has you and God will get you through to the next step. Because this might be hard to hear, but life is still good and it's still good for you. And God still has a lot in store for you. And all hope isn't lost. And you are going to get through this time to better times. So my saying accepting of what is means that, accept the present moment, accept the reality of what's going on. Now, everybody has a different definition of healing and how people find healing. And I know that there's wonderful ministries out there that do something like a discerning of spirits, where you can renounce sin in your life and you can come fresh, come new, and learn through the gift of the Holy Spirit, maybe through the charismatic renewal, ways that you can live in the Spirit. And that's a beautiful way to find healing. And many people do. Many people do. And I think prayer is a big way that we can find healing. And there's wonderful books on it too. So I would say definitely Google that or go to our outside resource page, because there's all kinds of resources for healing for people who are sad, lonely, disappointed, stressed, the list goes on. But what I'm going to say about healing is something else. Healing also is recognizing the fact that we live in a sinful world. And despite what has happened to me, with the help of God, I can still move on in faith. With God by my side and my faith and the sacraments of the church. Okay. Now, as I've said before in other podcasts, I'm not divorced. I've never been divorced, but I came from a family affected by divorce. My parents divorced when I was 6 years old. And I learned a lot from that. But even more, I've learned from all of you who've talked to me and talked to a lot of our Mercedarian friars over the years. But I think when we come to that realization of healing is that I can say, yes, certain things happened to me or my loved ones in the past that I'm not happy about, that I still have some sadness about, but I can pray about it and I can trust God for the future. Okay. I'm very much in favor that there's no such thing as a Catholic or Christian magic wand. And I don't know if you've heard that before. It's not like the candy machine, the vending machine that you put the money in and something comes out. It takes time. And that's exactly what we do with our foundation, is that we are here for you to listen, to care, and to offer that pastoral accompaniment. Now, I'm going to list out those things, those healing aspects or things that you can try to do in order to bring that healing to your own life. I said prayer, seeking proper counsel, finding extra help at home, talking to a priest, and acceptance for what is. So they're just some basic guidelines for healing, especially in the realm of the pastoral help. Now, don't forget, make that appointment for your pastoral consultation for free. Reach out to me at nonnatus.org. And I want to ask you also, would you please also like some of our pages on social media if you could? We have a Facebook page, the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation page. And also, if you can, Catholics, SRNF Catholics Affected by Divorce. That's another page that we have for you on Facebook. In addition, we have Instagram. We have a page called St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation, and also Philly Nonnatus, which is like the name of our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the Philly Nonnatus YouTube channel as well. We're also on Twitter at St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation and Philly Nonnatus. And we're on LinkedIn too. So we're all over the place, I guess. And even on Pinterest. Philly Nonnatus is also on Pinterest too. So like us there, share, get to know us. Text me if you ever have any questions. I'll give you my work cell, which is basically available 9 to 5 Mondays through Fridays. For the most part, we're closed on weekends, but if it's an emergency of sorts, we can try to get back to you as soon as we can. That's 215-870-9913. Prefer text first. But most of all, that email, director.srnf@gmail.com. Now, to end this podcast, we're back again next month for our first Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern on Philly Nonnatus YouTube channel. I want to thank our friends too with Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network. Bill Snyder is the founder of Patchwork Heart Ministry. He's also producing this podcast for him. We're so grateful, as well as Kent Kolhosky and Jennifer Sinclair, who share us at Fiat Ministry Network. God bless you all, and we'll see you next month for the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. God bless.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. For more information about the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation, visit nonnatus.org or email director.srnf@gmail.com. Did you enjoy this podcast? Listen to other podcasts from Patchwork Heart Ministry by following Patchwork Heart Radio wherever you listen to podcasts. Today, many students go to college with numerous questions about their faith, yearning to know if the seed planted in them as a child is both true and practical. Using the miracle on the road to Emmaus as a model, young adult ministers conversed weekly for 3 months with college students about the most pressing questions they had about the Catholic faith. As they journeyed together virtually, something amazing happened. Doubts disappeared, fears faded, and Jesus revealed that He is still alive. Hearts Burning Within Us, the latest book from Patchwork Heart Ministry, is a result of that grace-infused conversation. It is the perfect back-to-school gift for recent high school graduates and current college students. Get your copy for them today at patchworkheart.org or by calling 424-704-3278. That's 424-704-3278.